Hi, this is Allie with Agent List. I'm here with Chelsea Stewart, a real estate agent who works for ERA in Bozeman, Montana. And today we are going to get to know our agent and a little bit more about the demographics in Bozeman and what's going on in the housing market. So, Chelsea, how long have you been working as a real estate agent and what keeps you in the Bozeman market?
This is my sixth year as an agent in Bozeman. I was also born and raised here, so that also makes it really appealing to me to be in this market because I really understand the town, understand how it's grown. I kind of understand when people are coming here for the first time and they tell me what they're looking for. It's pretty easy for me to place them in different areas of town because I've been exposed to all of them throughout my life.
Absolutely. Um, have you thought about moving out of the area or does Bozeman keep you here because of your family?
Yeah, I did leave for a little bit right out of high school. Went to a bigger city, warmer weather, loved it. It was what I needed at the time. But right now, I feel super fortunate to be back in Bozeman, raising my family, and I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. It's a great place to live.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Do you specialize in helping buyers, sellers, or relocating clients?
It's kind of a mixed bag right now. We just looked at my numbers like up until this point in the year, and it's almost 50-50 buyers and sellers. With that, some buyers are investors and some sellers were investors with second properties, but it's pretty evened out right now for me and my business.
Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing that. Um, my next question is funny. I was saying, without incriminating yourself, how would you advise a client who's moving into this town, or even those watching on what neighborhoods are good, without like steering them to like a good area in Bozeman?
I think that's like such a relative question because what's good to you and what's good to me may not be good for someone coming in. And I think a lot of people move to Montana with like the expectation that it's still the Wild West. And while certain areas that may be true, it's definitely not for all areas. And there is covenants and there is subdivisions and there is HOAs. So I think like the best answer to this is you need to learn what your client's goals are and what they're looking for because everybody's different. And I remember I had a client one time whose dad owned a car dealership and they told me that there's a seat for everybody. And I'm like, it's so true. And that's the same as with, housing. Like not everyone is looking for the same thing. So what I think may be a good neighborhood would totally not appeal to someone who's looking for 5 acres and no HOA and to build a shop. You know what I mean? So I think that question is just so dependent on the buyer.
Sure. No, that's a great answer. And I'm curious, if you said like you have to get to know your clients' interests and needs. Do you feel like there are certain agents who are better for certain clients, or do you feel like you can kind of relate to every client?
I think at this phase in my career, since I've been doing it long enough and I've worked with a little bit of everyone, I think like I can relate to the higher end. I can still relate to first time home buyers. I tend to like work in like the $1 to $3 million range is more my which sounds really expensive, but here in Bozeman, it's kind of like your move up buyers. But if you get even a higher end client, like I still know how to talk to them, navigate them, direct them. I've sold bigger properties. I understand water rights. I understand that as well. But I do think it's important when you get into the game to specialize or to niche down,
Mhm.
just because it's easier to learn one thing when you're new than learn everything. And then as you grow as an agent, obviously you can expand, your clientele and people will just start finding you. And more than anything, your
Sure.
clients will become repeat and be looking for different things in the future. So you kind of grow and evolve with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really great advice for like agents who are up and coming. Obviously, they get to learn from you and like your experience over the last 6 years. And I think sometimes niching down sometimes can feel like I'm going to miss out on like a part of the market because I'm not trying to go after everybody, but like really learning how to specialize, especially in real estate, seems like, I don't know, that's really how you're going to make your money and like attract people to you.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So next we're going to talk about the new builds, the construction and the housing growth that is going on in Bozeman, Montana. This is just information that I got from ChatGPT, and so we're going to ask Chelsea if it's accurate and what she's kind of seen. It said that in the broader state of Montana, there's been new building permits, single family, that have seen a sharp increase from January of 23 to 24. The permit requests have rose 79%. In the local Galton Valley, which includes Bozeman, we have seen a housing report stating that the median price of the newly constructed family homes was $950,000, which goes along with what you said about
Mm-hmm.
the being between the 1 and 3 million customer range is like pretty median here. It says for Bozeman specifically, the data notes and the number of single family housing starts from early 2015, and it says they were about 1,272 residents. And then it says the price of land has increased over 86% over a 5-year span, which that seems kind of, I don't know, land doesn't seem like it would typically go up more than like housing. So, how do you feel about those statistics for this area?
I think that's pretty accurate. I think it's interesting because we're now almost through 25. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like hard to almost remember like 23 to 24 because it almost feels a long time ago. But I think it would be accurate in saying that because after 2020, 2021, 2022, it was just like boom, boom, boom. Anything that was built was flying off the shelf. So I
Mhm.
think builders were trying to like get new projects going because they were like,
Mhm.
everything I'm building is selling. And then it like incrementally slowed down. And I wouldn't say like dropped, but I would say we definitely stabilized. So, I guess as much as I can remember back, that probably was true. The
Mhm.
increase in putting in, the applications for permits and stuff like that.
Yep.
Um, as far as the land escalating in price, I would also say that's probably pretty true. I mean, in 2019, I bought a lot for, I don't know, $55,000 in a subdivision where now it would be close to 300,000.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it seems really different, but again, prices of houses raise so much. And so people were just
Yeah.
trying to get a piece of the pie. And so they were just going after the land to build the houses that people were buying.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, as much as crazy as it sounds, I would say that maybe not
Yeah.
80%, but I would say it's pretty close.
Yeah. I mean, that's only been 6 years since, you said it was
Mm-hmm.
55,000 that you bought and now it's going for 300. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can't do math like that, but that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
So what's the current average home price in Bozeman right now, and has it changed, or how has it changed in the last year?
It depends if you're talking city limits or like the greater Bozeman area. But I would say it ranges between like high sevens to low nines. So like let's just say 800 to 900,000, give
Mm-hmm.
or take. Every month's a little different, but we've kind of stayed consistent in there. For the past couple years, I think like maybe 2021, 2022 it was maybe closer to that $1 million mark, but I think we've stabilized back down closer to that like 8 to 900, which is still a huge number.
Right. Still really high. Um, yeah. Do you feel like people who are moving to this area expect the houses to be priced at what they are? Or do they, I don't know, are they shocked at the price because of like Bozeman's pretty rural compared to like, there's only like 60,000 people who live
Yeah.
here.
It's so interesting. That's like such a unique question
Yeah.
because we have some people who are coming here from like the Midwest that are just like, these prices are crazy. Like I can't
Hmm.
fathom, or even the South.
Sure.
But then we have the West Coasters, the Seattle, the Californians, the Colorado people from Colorado. I don't really know what they call themselves.
Yeah.
Come here and this is a bargain for them. So I think
Hmm.
it's just dependent on where they're coming from. And some people are just like shocked at our prices, and some people feel like it's a reprieve from where they're coming from. So it just really depends.
Yeah. Right now, do you feel like homes are selling quickly, or has the market started to cool down?
I would say homes are selling quickly if they're priced accordingly, and if there's not a lot of competition
Hmm.
in that house. Like if it's in a relatively new neighborhood or a neighborhood that's like a ton of spec homes, or like one builder going in and you're up against like 16 other brand new builds and you've owned for 2 years and you're reselling, that's going to be a hard sell all day long. But if you have like a little bit of a unique property, if you have a little bit more land, like a little bit bigger lot size, we're not seeing those be built right now, and they don't
Hmm.
come to the market as often. So I would say like the more unique properties, the ones with even like a little bit bigger lot, a half acre, 3/4 of an acre, even if the house is dated, those ones tend to be what people want because they can
Yeah.
put their own touch on them, kind of like hold that value with the lot size. When you
Hmm.
get more into the like cookie cutter
Yeah.
subdivisions, the new build subdivisions, there's some beautiful homes, but the lot sizes tend to be smaller. And if yours isn't standing out
Yeah.
amongst all the others, it's going to take a little longer.
Yeah. Do you feel like people who are moving to Bozeman are really looking for land more than just like a nice home?
I think they think they are until they get here,
Sure.
like I think everyone thinks that, and some people truly are. But
Right.
I think, I mean, I just took a couple out 2 or 3 weeks ago. And they were like, we want a view. We don't care how big the lot size, but we need a view. All we need is a view. All we need is a view. They bought a house with absolutely no view. Like so close to their houses, but they loved the house, and like
Right.
they have young kids and it was right by a park and like a great community. So like, and I also told them it was their first house. I'm like, your first house is rarely your forever house.
Yeah.
And so I think like the difference now is people turn over houses every 5 to 7 years
Yes.
statistically. And so I think like as an agent, you can also help coach people to be
Yeah.
like, for the phase of your life you're in right now, this makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay here forever. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of that same thing with like the 30 versus 50-year mortgage we're talking about right now. Like
Hmm.
everyone's like, not a 50-year mortgage, not a 50-year mortgage. And I agree on paper. It sounds crazy. Like, why would you do that? But so does a 30-year mortgage on paper. If you really total that over 30 years of what you're going to pay, it seems ludicrous. Someone should argue that the 15-year mortgage is the only way to go,
Mm.
but someone can't stomach that monthly payment. So
Hmm.
I kind of just think it like what fits your phase of life, what fits your pocketbook monthly payment,
Right.
and just know that like I think most people's goal in life is to kind of like work their way up the ladder, and you do the same with housing.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think it's really great to have like an agent advocate who can just give you that advice and input of like, hey, this doesn't need to be your forever home. And it doesn't have to be this scary thing where you're like locked in forever. And I think even for you, like obviously doing 50% of the work you've done is listings, you can just say like, hey, I can sell this house for you in a couple of years and you'll
Totally.
make a profit and you'll find your other home that, has the view, is, the next phase of your kid's life. And I feel like just like giving that perspective and reframing for people probably is so helpful. And then also like gives them that peace of mind of like, okay, you're right. Like we can just like figure out Bozeman, especially people who are new to
Mm-hmm.
here. They don't know where they want to live. They think they do. They think they love the mountains. They love looking at them. But then it's like, do I want more land? Because I get to see the mountains every day. I don't need to see it out my front window necessarily. So
Well, I tell people that all the time, and I know you were born and raised here too. And like you drive around and you have views everywhere you look. And I have toddlers. There is not one second of my day that I'm sitting in my house looking out the window. Like I am not doing that. I love looking at the mountains when I drive to the grocery
yeah.
store, but like I know for my phase of life, like I'm not married to a view because I'm not going to
Mhm.
enjoy it. One day I'm sure I'd love it to sit on
Yeah.
my patio and drink wine. I just don't have that luxury right now,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like there are more neighborhoods that are seeing more consistent growth or development, like out in Four Corners or Belgrade or up in Bridger Canyon, or do you feel like it's more just across the board?
I would say the most developments happening, obviously, like West Bozeman towards Four Corners, just because there's
Okay.
still land to be built on. There's still
Yes.
new developments coming in. Same with Belgrade, right?
Mhm.
There's still land to be had. You get towards Bridger Canyon, you get in the mountains. I mean, those are the luxury properties.
Yeah.
So are you seeing growth? Yes, but they're like 10-acre parcels with like larger homes on them. Where we're seeing, I would say, like the most density is definitely the west side of town and Belgrade.
Yeah. No, I live out off of Love Lane right now, and like just driving down Huffine and like right
Oh,
there
yeah.
off to the right, I was just like so surprised. I was like, I didn't know that this land was like residential because after getting my real estate license, I learned about, how they, some land is commercial and then some land is industrial and stuff. And I was like, I had no idea all of this was going to be residential. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
totally. I mean, growing up here, like you used to remember the drive from Bozeman to Belgrade, but now it's just like all one shot,
Yep.
Like it's almost like you don't really like realize when you leave one and enter the next.
Yeah. Which we never used to have that here in Bozeman because it was just like farmland and it felt
Totally.
like a long drive, but now it's like it just feels like you're driving through the city the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like I used to live in Phoenix for a little bit and it was kind of the same thing. Like you just never realize when you left one suburb to the next. And it's almost like Bozeman. And I'm sure pretty soon Belgrade to Manhattan will feel the same. It's just
That's
like
crazy
kind
to
of a
think about.
continuation. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. How competitive are offers like from the buyers? Are they bidding above asking price right now?
I haven't really had a bidding war above asking price. I've had a couple multiple offers this year, mostly on unique properties.
Yeah.
Again, kind of maybe this whole year I've seen two or three offers come in on the same property
Hmm.
within reason. I don't think one has escalated over asking price though.
Okay. In the past, when you've had bidding wars, how did you navigate those?
I think you just have to kind of like zoom out on the situation and like
Sure.
remove emotions and just state facts for your clients. Like, here's the contingency dates, here's the release of contingency dates, here's the closing date, like here's how much each person has down, which one looks stronger, and
Yeah.
and then just let your clients have to decide. It's ultimately their decision, and all you can do is like provide the facts and like kind of point out the different contingencies and which ones kind of expire quicker so that they're more in the clear to get to the closing table.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's really not up to us. It's up to the sellers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, like, just hearing you talk about like navigating bidding wars, I feel like elevates you as an agent because I don't feel like every agent would know how to do that. And even like you said, like take emotion out of it because it probably feels kind of scary. And I'm curious, like with the new laws that have come into play with like the commissions for agents, like do you feel like being able to do something like that where you would navigate a bidding war like elevates you and puts you in that next like maybe the 3% commission range versus people who are like aren't worth that because it's like they're a new agent. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think like you can use your experience in the past to like win a listing, but all of that is decided before you ever get to the
Yeah.
bidding war. Do you know what I mean? So like your commission's already decided before you get to the bidding war.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like you have to like sell yourself on your experience before a bidding war even happens, and just let them know that you can navigate them through this. And like honestly, a bidding war is everyone's best scenario, like
Yeah.
that's what people want, sellers want, because
Sure.
and for a buyer, I mean, I guess on the flip side, if you're signing like the buyer broker,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but sometimes on those bidding wars, like that's where you're like, if I have to cut my commission to get you to this house, like, do I do it? So I
Sure.
would say like it just it just depends on what side you're on. I
Mm-hmm.
think what it comes down
Yep.
to more than anything, and like I would say in the past 5 years, when it has been more bidding wars and when it has been tougher transactions, and it even right now it's tough. It's like so hard to keep a deal together because sellers still think it's 2021, 2022, and buyers think it's 2008, 2009. And so like I personally like would say these past couple of years, the thing that matters the most, one of the things that matters the most in a transaction is your relationship with the other agent. I think if
Mm,
you that like it's so important to like have great rapport and great relationships with other agents in this market, because it most of the time takes two agents to get it to the finish line. And if you
mm,
guys know you can work well together
yeah.
and both like manage your clients' emotions, like
Mhm.
that's what it takes. And I would say now more than ever, just
Yeah.
to try to like set even expectations on both sides.
Yeah. And I know that you have like a really, really great reputation here. And like even before I met with you, I had agents who were like, oh, if you want to talk with somebody, go talk to Chelsea. And it was like just hearing that from agent after agent, like you were available and like they liked working with you. I think that was like it made it so it was like comfortable to come to you even just to like talk and like ask you to like do
Yeah.
an interview with me, and it was like a lot of agents sometimes are hard to get in contact with, so I know that you personally have like a really great reputation around here. Okay, my next question. So it seems like you do buyers and sellers 50-50, and so for sellers, what strategies are working best to attract buyers or even out of state ones?
Honestly, my number one question when I go into a listing appointment is, do you want to list your house or do you want to sell your house? Because some people are like, I want
Mm,
to put it on the market and see if I can get my number. And
yes.
that's fine, totally fine. But in this market, those are sometimes two different strategies. Like we can
Mhm.
list your house all day long, but I want to set expectations early on, because
Yeah,
again, we aren't 2022,
yeah,
2021. And so if you want to sell your house and you want to sell it quick, like let me advise you and like trust that like what I tell you is going to get
yeah,
in front of the most buyers, get the most traction. I mean, marketing obviously comes into it, but we're in 2025. It's not hard to market. There's
yeah,
so many amazing marketing tools, and so many people are using video. It's not really one of those things that makes one person stand out over the other. I think it's truly just like level setting with like what market we're in and not over promising to get the listing.
mhm,
I'd rather be the second agent on things than the first sometimes, because
sure,
I'm not going to false promise you. Like,
yeah,
this is what I truly believe we should do. And if you don't want to, that's totally fine. But when it
mhm,
doesn't work with whoever else you go to, call me then, Like, and I think it's only been in the past like year and a half that I've finally like realized that, because I don't like to let people down. I don't want to false promise and under deliver,
Sure.
So I would rather shoot you straight and then have you come
Mhm.
calling me if the other situation doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you can kind of see like where they fell short and then just kind of make up for all of the areas that they made mistakes.
Yeah, and mostly it's pricing. It's just like some people will take a listing just to have the listing, and the pricing, it's 99% of the time it's just pricing.
Right.
And some people will just, tell them whatever price to get the listing. But
Sure.
I've just learned, I used to do that too. I was,
Sure.
I was like, I still am hungry. I'm always hungry, but I've just learned like, my reputation is more important than just getting a listing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's such good advice. And I'm curious, how many people have you talked with who actually just want to list their house and not sell it?
I'd say, I mean, right now I probably have like 3 or 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, they obviously have some inkling to sell it, but they want their number and
Yeah.
they're not in a huge hurry, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll pull it off till the spring and try again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I would say like I have 3 or 4 of those right now.
Yeah. How many houses do you like? You maybe not don't know this, but like in Bozeman in general, would you say are being listed at a price where it's like they have no urgency?
I'd say if you look at the MLS and you see anything over like 100, depending on the price point, obviously, like the higher price points sometimes sit a little longer because there's not as many buyers. But I would say anything over like days on market, like
Mm,
I would say those people aren't that motivated. Like you'd probably do something to drop the price to sell it if it's been on the market that long.
sure.
So, and some people are like, I get it, a lot, not maybe not a lot, but I would say a good portion of buyers that are selling right now bought high in 2022.
Sure.
And so they have a number they have to recoup, which I totally get. Like we are seeing short list sales right now. Like
Mm,
the foreclosure list is growing, not a ton, like not like the media makes it seem, not in Bozeman at least, but there are some. Like I have a short sale going on right now. And so I think, it's sometimes they do want to sell it, but they can't sell it for less than a certain number. So,
yeah.
so it's so dependent. And I think if we know one thing, and I tell people this all the time, if you zoom out on real estate over 10-year increments, it's never gone down. It might
Sure.
go down, but it always comes back up in 10-year increments.
Mm-hmm.
And so if people have the ability to rent it, like I have the cutest little clients right now, brothers, and they bought high and then they moved. And I was like, you guys rent it. Like, I'm telling you this because like you're not going to make your money and I want you to.
Right.
I don't want you to lose money. Like,
Yeah.
to get me, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like rent it, do month to month, do a 3 month, like furnish if you have to, so you can do more of like a short to midterm thing, so
Mm-hmm.
that when spring comes and hopefully the market picks up, we can go back live without having tenants in there. But I'm the first to tell people that I think you should rent before sell if it doesn't make financial sense.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious if Zillow has access to the days on the market, like to know if it's like you said, if you could see it was like 150 days, it's probably overpriced. Do you know if Zillow has access to that information?
It does, but it's a little bit skewed because if you pull it off the market per our MLS and put it back on within 6 months, those days don't reset.
Mm,
So sometimes people have had it on for a month, pulled it off for 5 and put it back on, and those days will be cumulative. If you leave it off for
mm,
6 months, then it resets.
okay.
So yes, they do, but I wouldn't always take it at face value.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Zillow is like an awesome tool for us, but it's also can be kind of inaccurate, especially if you're not working alongside an agent or a broker who actually has access to the MLS and like the accurate data.
Well, especially in Montana, because Montana is one of 2 non-disclosure states in the nation. Maybe there's more now. I think at one time there was 2. So Zillow doesn't have access to what homes close out for. So the Zestimate here in
Mm,
Montana is wildly inaccurate
okay.
almost all the time.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. So non-disclosure just means that there's certain information on Zillow that they don't have access to that other states
So
do.
so our MLS, let's say a house was listed for 1.5 million and it closed out at 900,000.
Mm-hmm.
All Zillow will show is the 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
So any other Zestimate will just be based off of what that was listed at, not at what it closed at.
Yep.
Um, Also the flip side, like I Googled one of my family's parcels of land in Belgrade and Zillow told me it was worth 900,000 and we listed it for 2.5 million and sold it for 2.3. So like
Interesting.
also wildly inaccurate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So Zillow, just in Montana especially, it's
Yeah.
not disclosure, so it doesn't have access to what things close out for.
Yeah. And that's honestly like one of the big things that I have been trying to like focus on in my company is like people who go to Zillow think that they're getting really accurate information, which is really fun to look at houses and land and dream and all the things that Zillow gives you access to. But like my pitch to everyone has always been like, please go and find yourself an agent first because they have access to the MLS. And I really don't think we're ever going to be moving into a time or a season where we don't need a real estate agent to advocate for us and to give us accurate information and do the paperwork, save us time, all those things. So, anyways, I think that like I love that Zillow has like given us a tool, but I also like don't want people to think that they can do everything themselves because they feel like they have access to all the information because they don't.
Totally. And it's also one of the biggest financial investments you make in life. So like I really think people need to be, super aware of like the liability and just all the risks that's involved in a transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Moving into population growth in Bozeman. According to a recent estimate, Bozeman has seen a population of over 59,000. So we're small here, but it's up from 53,000, which is a 10% increase over the last 5 years. It says the data between 22 and 23, it grew 53,000, which is a 2.9% increase. And more recently, from 23 to 24, its estimated growth was at 1.4%. It said between 2010 and 2020, which was the fastest growth, was 40% increase. Um, Obviously, we've seen the population growth in Bozeman. What are you seeing as its effects in the economy and also like the housing market?
Yeah, I would say like people are still moving here. I don't think they're moving here as rapidly as they were during COVID. I also think a lot of people that moved here had remote jobs, got called back into the office. So, yes, we're still growing. I think we're still super desirable, but I think for a while it was like 5 people a day and now I think the latest I heard is like 2 to 3 people a day moving here, which is still it still seems like a lot to me
That's a
from
lot.
growing up here. 2 to
Yeah.
3 people a day, that's like a lot. But it's definitely down from what it was, but we're still definitely growing.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you have any like personal, like I know growing up, my dad would always like tell people like the worst things about Bozeman and be like, yeah, we ride our horse to school. We don't have electricity. And he would say it kind of like jokingly or sarcastically because it was like we want to keep people out and just like keep Bozeman to ourselves because it's such a beautiful state and it's like the wild and the lands and stuff. So a lot of times people have like really specific views and feelings about growth here. And so, how are you feeling about it?
I think it's a little bit of a catch 22. I was born and raised here. I like really appreciate the like old Bozeman way, the old Montana way, the like wave at everyone when you walk by them, say hello, like, you're at a stop sign, like you just wave to the next person. Love that. But at this on the flip side, I also think there's like some beauty in the growth we've had. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have like great restaurants, like more culture. We have a lot to do here. Like I personally think it's like a really great blend of like a big city and a small town. And from growing up here, I remember growing up, I was always so bored. I was like, I can't wait to go to a big city, So
Yeah.
I'm also like I always craved that. So I
Yeah.
might not be the perfect person to ask, but I think Bozeman has done a good job of growing. I think the city's really strict with like what they allow and
Mm.
aesthetically, like what they, let be built. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that's great because I think it keeps our downtown charming.
Yeah.
I think it keeps this such a desirable place to live. You can't prevent growth.
Right.
You just can't. And so I'm like, if we're going to have growth, I'd rather have it look like this
Mm-hmm.
than look sporadic and tacky and like
Mm-hmm.
with no rhyme or reason.
Yeah. No, I was actually talking with a guy who is a part of the Bozeman Chamber of Commerce, and he was saying that there's been a big argument. So, for those of you who don't know, Bozeman, like one of the big things that I remember growing up was that like McDonald's was not allowed to have a sign like way up in the sky. Like most McDonald's have like the ugly M sign that like you can see from like miles away. They had to have it low on the ground because it would disrupt the view. And then also Walmart was not allowed to be blue. And so those are two of the things I
I remember
remember.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember this guy, I actually forget his name, from Bozeman Chamber of Commerce. He was telling me there's been an argument about like the way that we grow in Bozeman where they've been arguing to actually grow up in some areas because we want to save land because we have so much like open space and we want to save that. And and then obviously some people are like, but we want to save the view. And so there's been like this, dynamic between like the tension of just, do we grow up and then sort of ruin some of the view, as in like the big cities like Denver, like they're just, there's the big city is like in one small portion of the city, but like you can't see past the tall buildings, or do you grow out and then lose all that open land? And so that's been like the big thing here in Bozeman in the talk. And so do you have any views on that, or like?
I think the difference with Bozeman is like we're in such a valley that we
Mhm.
really can't grow out a ton because we
Yeah.
hit the mountains,
Yeah.
And so, but I agree with the grow up. And I think the city's done, I mean, I think our tallest building is what, 6, 7 stories? Like it's not that big. It's
Yeah.
not like we have like a 20
Yeah.
unit story. And I don't think Bozeman would ever allow that. So I guess like you can't prevent growth. So I think they're doing the best that they can. And I'm sure it could be better, always can, right? But I don't know. Like we just keep we'll run into the mountains way sooner than Denver would. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like I think we are growing west and we're growing more close to the ground out west. We're not going up so much.
Mhm.
But on the east side of town, there's nowhere else to go but up. Downtown, there's nowhere else to go but up. So
Yep.
I mean, I think we should keep a height restriction for sure because we
Mhm.
do have such great views.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much of that you can, control much more than that. So
I know. I feel like it's one of those things where it's almost like maybe we could have like a few skyscrapers and then just like kind of chalk it up as a loss to like the view that those block, but only put them in like a small area and realize like, this gives us X amount of housing, but we're not going to lose the view for the majority of the valley.
totally. Yep, I completely agree. And right now, I don't know if the city would allow much more than we already have, which I think is the Armory is the tallest. So
Yep.
I don't think that's as implicating as it could be with, anything higher. So I guess we'll kind of
Hmm.
see where it goes.
Yeah. How do you feel like Bozeman's housing trends compare with other like similar small city markets across the US?
It's kind of a tough question. I don't follow them as
Sure.
closely. I think we're really protected as a market, just like we're a college town. We have Big Sky so close. We have ski,
Mm.
we get the overflow from Big Sky where the median house price is what, 2.3 million for
Hmm.
a condo. Like, so I think we're in a really protected market.
Interesting.
The things that people come here to do aren't going anywhere. The skiing, the fishing, the hiking, which is why we can't grow out anymore because we are in such a valley.
Mm.
Again, I don't keep as close of pulse on other small towns. I think there's some that are more protected than us, maybe Jackson Hole, maybe Park City, but having a university here too, I think we were kind of in a bubble in the '06 crash.
Mm.
I think we're always going to be protected. I think we're always feel it, but not to the extent of some
Right.
other markets.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if you think about, like, people will call Bozeman Bose Angeles because it just
Yeah,
feels like upscale and like wealthy. Like, we have money in this city. And whereas, like, other cities that only have 60,000 people, like, probably don't see the wealth or the type of growth that we see on a regular basis.
totally. And I think our airport's a testament to that. For a town that is this small, we have like we fly to 27 different cities direct. I mean,
Mm.
growing up here, we flew to two.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go somewhere, you went to Salt Lake or Minneapolis. Like those were your only routes. And now that you can fly to New York direct or Boston direct or Florida direct, like
Hmm.
I think that also just shows how much money comes here, but also just how much people are starting to view this as more of a destination. Like a Nashville. Like you see bachelorette parties downtown. And I'm like, they came here, like,
That's
but
amazing.
like it's just, and I think part of it's the Yellowstone show.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot, but I definitely think, kind of like you mentioned earlier, like we used to go to like on family vacations growing up, and people were like, Montana, like what? Like,
Yep.
do you have electricity?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you ride horses? And now you can almost go to any city in this entire country and say Bozeman and they know it's in Montana, just like you say Boston and they know it's in
Yep.
Massachusetts. It's like our town has become a name. You almost don't have to follow it up with a state anymore.
Absolutely. No, I believe that too. And I've been really surprised at how many people either have some sort of connection to Bozeman or Montana, or like want to come here, and it's like on their dream list and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to go." And it every time it always makes me feel really grateful that like I'm from here, and I probably take a lot of it for granted.
Oh, totally. I know my dad always used to be like, you're going to one day you're going to be so grateful that you grew up here. And I remember growing up here being like, that'll be the day. And now I'm here and I'm like, I'm never leaving. I'm raising my kids here. So
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you feel like there impacts rising mortgage rates or having buyer demand nationwide?
Wait, say that again. Sorry.
What impacts are rising the mortgage rates, and what is causing buyer demand nationwide?
I mean, I think that the mortgage rates are always kind of fluctuating. We've seen like a couple of years of them staying pretty high. But I think right now in this moment in time, like we've seen them trend down. I think in the past like couple of weeks, we've seen them be the lowest they've been in a year and a half. And then again, with like the talk of the 50-year mortgage, I think if that happens, I think we're going to see like the floodgates open a bit nationally, because I think more people are going to get excited to enter the market.
Yeah.
And I think like, again, like the buyer demand is just so unique to the buyer. Do you know what I mean? Like my single bachelors are looking for something so different than my first time home buyers expecting their first baby versus, so I just think that again, that there's a property for everyone. And sometimes there's more inventory in one sector than there are buyers, but it all balances out eventually, and pretty soon. And I think the more we can get interest rates down, or if we can get more people in the market, it's going to really absorb kind of the bit pent up inventory in those lower price points.
Yeah. Can you actually speak more on the 50-year mortgage? I am only familiar with the VA loans because that's what I used, and I don't know about this 50-year mortgage thing.
Well, it's not a thing yet, but it's the talk right now. So I guess the Trump administration has been talking about releasing a 50-year mortgage.
Okay.
You talk to lenders, you talk to my dad, like they're not, the lenders like, it makes no sense. Like you're going to end up paying on, let's say, a $500,000 house, $2 million for the house over 50 years.
Sure.
But you and I both know most people only hold houses 5 to 7 years. Or if you hold them, you're having your renter pay that. You're not paying it. You're renting it out and having them cover your mortgage. To me, it's not a long-term play. Sure. It's for someone to enter the market, live in it 5 years, hope it appreciates 100, 200,000, sell it, and now you have that equity. Versus if you rent for 5 to 7 years, you have no equity.
Sure.
So yeah, I agree that on paper over the span of 50 years, it makes no sense, but neither does the 30-year.
Yeah.
If you really take what you're paying in interest over a 30-year mortgage, it also makes no sense. But very few people in our generation hold houses for 30 years.
Yeah.
It's not even, I mean, I maybe have had in my 6 years doing this, 10 sellers that have had their house, like lived in it for the whole 30 years.
Like it's paid off.
Yeah. And not that they paid cash for it. They've literally paid that 30, last month of the 30-year mortgage payment. Like so rare. Like people's life needs change. People get married, they have kids, people pass away, there's divorce. Like it's just so rare you stay in a house for 30 years, let alone 50. So I think if it gets people in the market, it gives people an opportunity to make equity.
Yeah.
And build credit.
Is it like a specific loan, like FDA or?
I think it's going to be, the talk is now, I think like a Fannie Freddie, like same as, yeah. I don't know what the interest rates look like compared to the 30. Probably a little worse, I'd guess, only because the 15-year are better than the 30. I'd guess that the 30 are better than the 50. But again, I think it's going to allow people to get in the market.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it would be like a huge bank play, like the ones who are giving out the money are like, if we do a 50-year mortgage, we could probably make so much more money on this interest because that's the whole point, right?
Yeah. And right now it's so hard for people to get in the market because houses are so much more expensive than they were before COVID nationally.
Yeah. Do you think there's like higher risk for banks to like allow a 50-year mortgage? Like the types of people who would be able to afford that payment coming into the market and like taking out a loan that they may or may not. It's like
totally. I think that's the biggest fear.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know about that.
It only has been on the news as of like Friday, like maybe like not even a week ago. So like, but if you Google it, it's like, it's everywhere and everyone has their own opinion on it.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess How did they have so much time to focus on this when they didn't? The
When the
government
government was
is
shut
shut.
down.
Yeah, the
No,
government is shut down.
I completely agree. Maybe they're like, we got to open it to navigate this. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
we got to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What are analysts predicting for home values over the next year? Do you know that?
From what I've heard, and I just kind of listened to like Lawrence Yun or like kind of the main economists for like realtor.com or Zillow, I think people see housing prices rising on just like your normal average basis, like 3 to 5% a year. I think mortgage rates are going to trickle down, not like plummet by any
Mm-hmm.
means, but right now we're like right around six, maybe like 6.15. I just had a client got locked in with no points for 5.85. So I think hopefully they can trickle down and just like land in the fives. I think if there's a five in front of a mortgage rate, people feel okay about it
Yeah.
versus six.
Yep.
I think it's like kind of psychological too. But
Yeah,
yeah, so I personally kind of think that I think this is going to be the hardest year to be an agent that we've seen.
mm,
I think home prices are going to I don't think they're going to plummet anymore. I think this is like the year we saw the biggest drop, and I think the more mortgage rates drop, prices will either rise, but it'll just create more,
mm-hmm.
more transactions across the board.
Yeah. You think hard because it's going to be competitive?
I think it'll get easier because there's going to be more buyers.
Okay.
I think it's going to get better. I think this was the hardest year. This was a hard year.
Okay. So you said this last year was the hardest
2025,
year
I
for
think.
real estate agents.
It's been my hardest year. I mean, we've stayed steady, but I mean, it takes everything to get a deal done.
Okay.
So I think why I say that is because I think we already see it trending that way.
Mm,
I haven't had a fall this busy ever. I haven't had a spring this slow as of 2025 ever. Right now feels like spring normally feels.
okay.
And so if it feels like this in mid to late November when there's the holidays and everything
Yeah.
else, I can only imagine what spring, which is normally busy a time, if it continues on this progression, will feel like.
Yeah. Have you seen like a lot of real estate agents, like, I don't want to say dropping out, but like, moving
Leaving,
on?
yeah.
Yeah. Leaving
Yeah,
the
totally.
industry.
There's been a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I get it because this career is great because it can be whatever you want it to be. I mean, if you want to sell 5 houses a year, you can, but at what point is it worth it to like keep your license and pay your broker fee, all the things. Like
Mm-hmm.
at some point there's a break even. And this year,
Mm-hmm.
like if you didn't have a deal, then you're in the hole. And if you don't, you know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, I would say like I was surprised by a handful of agents that I had been kind of, strong agents the past few years that kind
Sure.
of did something different.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. How long did it take you to get to a place where you were like, I'm doing this full time all year. This is going to be my thing.
Yeah.
Like, did you just dive right in
No.
and you were good? How
Yeah,
long?
no. I started when I started in 2019, end of 2018, beginning of 2019. And I kind of was forced to just do real estate full time in
Okay.
2020 because I was doing hair as well. So I was straddling. I didn't own the salon anymore. I had sold my portion, but I was still doing hair part time, doing real estate. Well, when COVID happened, you couldn't do hair. Like the salon
Yeah.
shut down. So I was like, well, why go back? You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like I haven't gone for 6 weeks. I haven't done anyone like, so for me, it was kind of like just like I'm going to sail the ships. I was slowly weaning
Mm-hmm.
out, but like while I built my real estate career, but then when that happened, and obviously like luckily the housing market was really busy. So it was
Sure.
lucky, but I just knew that like after the salons were shut down for 2 months, like why would I go back when my goal was to transition out?
Yeah. I think that's really interesting, and it's like good input to hear, like for new agents who are like thinking about being a real estate agent and like understanding. Like for Chelsea, obviously she got in 2020 when the housing market was going great, so then she was able to be full time agent, but instead
Yeah.
of having another job. But like if an agent were to come on now, like do you think it's more competitive? It's harder to like be full time.
Well, and I was like a year and 2 months part time, right? Like I
Okay.
still like did my hair 3 days a week. And then as my real estate got busier, my first year and a half, like went to 2 days a week. And then I was down to 1 day. And like I would tell anyone, do not get into real estate and be that desperate agent.
Mm,
You will attract no one. You will make everyone turn away. Like, don't do it because you need the sale. Like, bartend, do something that's like flexible that you can do on the off hours of real estate or that you can work around so that you're not that desperate car, like sleazy car salesman, like
Mhm.
panic selling or panic
Yeah.
trying to get a client, because you'll never build a business. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I was like so glad I had another income, because I never wanted to be that pushy salesperson. I've never cold called. I've never door knocked. It's just not my personality. I know agents are like crush it doing that, crush it. That just wasn't me. And I
Yep.
didn't want to have to do that. So for me, I wanted something else so I could like organically, like truly build trust. And another thing like was hard. Like I thought that having, been born and raised here and like having another career and knowing all these people from doing hair, like, oh, they'll all just follow me. No, they won't. Like they know you as a professional in that realm. Now they'll
Yeah.
come to me. Now they know.
Yeah.
But like you can't expect them overnight to just like trust you with the biggest purchase of their life when
Yep.
all they've known is you can do good highlights in their hair. You know
Sure.
what I mean? So like it took me a long time to like build the trust with them in this like different
Mhm.
phase.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious, like, do you feel like being part-time really helped you to build, like, your credibility and also knowledge as a real estate agent, till the point where you got to be full-time?
Yeah, and I would say the biggest thing that I see part-time agents make is they don't tell people you have a side hustle. Just do it. Just do it and don't let them know you have one. Tell them
Sure.
you're a full-time agent. They don't want to know that you have another obligation on your mind.
Mm,
So when I did hair, my real estate clients had no clue I still did hair.
sure.
I would say, "Oh, I have appointments today." They don't know what that, and it wasn't a lie, but I
Yeah.
think like when you're asking people to trust you with the biggest financial decision of their life, they
Mhm.
want to know you're all in.
Yep.
Don't tell
That makes
them that
sense.
you're like straddling the fence or you're doing two things. Like some people do it and they do it great. Like I was with an agent last night and he's a firefighter part time in this, and he like owned it the minute we walked in, and I was like, that's awesome. Like thank you for your service. Like thank you for doing that. Like
Yeah.
I respect first responders so much. But for me, like also like doing hair is such like a fun, like light, loose job, and then
Sure.
the
Yeah.
transition to like real estate, like I didn't let anyone know I still did hair. I mean, my hair clients knew. And
Mhm.
again, like it took them a long time to fully like understand that like this was a career move. I'm in the know. I know what I'm doing and they could trust me in this realm. Now I work with a lot of them, but it wasn't an overnight thing, which I think a lot of people also think that will just happen, but it doesn't.
Right. Yeah. I think your history, like, definitely plays a role in how people are going to see you. But I think this is all just like really great advice for people who are thinking about being a real estate agent, whether here in Bozeman or anywhere, because then it just gives you like that insight of like you can transition, but maybe transition a little bit slower because that's more realistic. And, um, then you can build your credibility up. And also, I'm sure there's something inside of you, maybe like clicked or shift where you're like, I've got this. And I don't feel like doing my first deal was like not a scary thing anymore.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I mean, there's still things I run into that I'm like, that's never happened before. It's like every day's a new day. But yeah, and I don't even know when that happened. But yeah, I mean, every day you build confidence, just like anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've never gone to the gym, but after first year, you're like, oh, I have the hang of it. I'm not nervous to walk in the door anymore. It's just like,
Yep.
it's got to keep building that muscle, and it's not an overnight thing. And I think like people need to remember, like, a year from now, you'd be glad you kept going. Like 2 years from now, you just can't focus on like what it feels like in that exact moment when you're early on.
Yeah.
No matter what you do early on, it's scary and it's not fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I just think a lot of people like give up before it's too early to see results.
Yeah. No, that's really good advice. And I just feel like starting something new it's really hard to feel like you belong or that you're like that you can do it. And everyone else is they're kind of against you. You almost have to be your own biggest advocate, like that, you can do this. And I've been feeling this like in my business. And like I went from being a soldier to being in real estate to then I did what you did where I burned the boats, right? And I was like, I'm not having any plan B. I'm not going to pretend that I am going to be a real estate agent and get my license and like I have a blueprint of how I can make money, because I was like, if I don't give my business the you know the time that it deserves, it will never take off. And
Totally.
so I had to like just advocate for myself and go, you know what, I'm gonna do this and we're gonna build a business. And you're building a
Yeah.
business.
Well, and I think that's a thing. Like when I did hair, like I knew I wanted that thing to end. So
Mm,
I didn't care that it fizzled, right? Like I put all my eggs into the real estate basket and like kept just doing that out of motion because I knew how, and I didn't have to think about it. So I could put all my energy in that. I still had to go there and like do it to like make money, but like I knew it was I knew it was going to fizzle out. So I didn't care if a client left me. I didn't get caught up in that
Mhm.
because I knew what my path was that I wanted. And I think people just get so caught up to like keep all balls afloat, and like you can't.
Sure.
Like pick your path, know what your goal is going to be in that path, and like do what you have to do on the side so you don't act desperate.
Yep.
But like when it fizzles out, don't be sad about it because like you're on this
Mhm.
path, you know? And like
Yeah.
I think like you're right. Like you have to like burn the ships at some point
Yeah.
because you just can't do it all, and you can't do it all well.
Yeah. I think like it's important just to remember like when you're running your race, like you really just put your blinders up of like, I'm headed in this direction. And like you said, everything that's in the past, like just let it go. Because until you like give your full effort towards one thing, like if you try and do multiple things all at the same time, none of them are going to get your full attention and like have that ability to be successful, you know, whereas if you give
Absolutely.
something their full attention, yeah.
So true.
Well, thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here
thank
and doing this
you.
interview with me and giving that insight about Bozeman and the market, and then also like the new, 50-year deal with the loan. Just lots of really good insights that we got from Chelsea today. But
Thank you for having me so much. And if anyone has any questions, always feel free to reach out.
yes. All right. Thanks. Bye, guys.